so thankful again that we can be together here as a local family of believers. We heard how that was expressed this morning, and it's just wonderful that we can be together in that way. And I praise you for that. I pray for all of us that are sick, that you would heal us. Pray especially for Dennis and his neck, and Dawn's wrist, and Lindsay's hand. Continue to heal and bless them in that. Continue to pray for the Askin family as the loss of their mom and dad. Just comfort them during this time and give them wisdom and direction in the decisions that they might have to make in the weeks ahead. Bless our time now as we continue to study your word and try to understand it. Amen.
Amen. Thanks, Tom. Hey, Kurt. I forgot. Thank you. All right. Well, we got some stuff to talk about here today. Is it going to work? What do you think? No? It's going to work?
We're going to make it work.
Okay. I got a few things to talk about here, and I got to find my paper. But if you've got questions or thoughts or something you want to bring up, certainly glad to cover any of those. Anybody want to talk about attractional church? I want to talk about some of this. So there's never mind. We're already up here. Let's talk about this. Let's start with some statistics first. So I brought this up. Worshiping alone or with one's family is a valid replacement for regularly attending church. So as I pointed out last week, this is Ligonier's research. This is what they call State of the Church, and it's done in conjunction with Lifeway Research. 3 or 4,000 respondents, something like that. Not all believers. So these are just sort of across the board. I'll show you some of the demographics of it they give to this, but worshiping alone or with one's family is a valid replacement for regularly attending church. Now, you guys can do the math, and if you can't run, we'll add those two values up for you. But more or less 63%, or maybe if you add the 10% who say they're not sure if that's true or not, you're into the 70s now, right? 73% of people aren't sure if you need to attend church or not. That number is staggering. That number shows you how far we've come in individualistic thinking. And it shows you how the church just, this is going to get into other conversations, but that's fine. We'll just go ahead and do it. I will tell you, I can freely admit this, that for me, sometimes inviting people to church or telling people to go to church, I have a hard time doing it, not because I don't want them to come to church, but because I recognize that I exist in a profession and amongst a group of people that have turned inviting people to church into a consumeristic endeavor. We want to get people in the seats so that we can count heads, we can increase our giving, we can do more things, we can have more lights on our platform, we can have a bigger sound system, a bigger stage, bigger screens, and do all of these other things that create visibility. Why? Because in large part, inviting people to church has become a marketing scheme in our world. And so what's happened is, because of that, I bring all that up and say, well, how does that relate to this? Well, it relates to this because when church is entertainment and marketing, and is really, I said this on social media this week, it's become part of the entertainment industry. Mm-hmm. Inviting somebody to church puts you into that, at least it feels like you're in that environment, at least that's how people hear you. When that's what people see and that's what they relate to, of course people don't think they need to go there. Do you need to go to the movies? Or can you watch a movie at home? Isn't that how most people are going to answer this same question? Watching a movie at home or with one's family is a valid replacement for regularly attending movies in the theater. It's the same kind of question in people's mind. Oh, I love going to the theater because of the big screen and the... Okay. I'd rather sit at home on my couch. It's quiet. I don't have to interact with anybody. You're getting the same answer in this question. Yeah, Tom.
Once you get the church body believing that church is for the non-believer, then the true believer says, well, if church is for the non-believer, why do you need to go?
Yeah, that's totally, that's 100% correct. As a matter of fact, I've always, look, I'm probably not going to reach out to Andy Stanley or Stephen Furtick, but if you ever, I've recommended this documentary several times, but if you want to see how this is communicated, go watch the documentary Church of Tares. Tares, Church of Tares. You can find it on YouTube. It's about 15 years old now. But it exposes this attractional church model at the deep level. And in that video, both Andy Stanley and Stephen Furtick and several other guys say very plainly from the stage, the day you became a believer, what do they say, Joy?
Yeah, the day you became a believer is the day.
This church is no longer for you.
Yep.
Think about that. The day you became a believer, this church is not about you. It's not for you anymore. This place exists for the unchurched and the unbeliever, not for the believer. Think about saying that. When you say things like that, just like Tom is saying, you are communicating it's not necessary for you to show up here. I don't know that I've ever heard any of them say this, although I wouldn't be surprised. But in some sense, what they're saying is, you can worship anywhere. This is for the unchurched and for the unbeliever. That is the environment in which we exist. And in that environment, nobody, let me back off of that for a second. In that environment and all the downhill wannabe places that want to be those megachurches, nobody is teaching sound doctrine. Nobody is teaching the doctrine of Christ as the cornerstone of the church and what that truly means. And nobody is teaching what the church is and what its function is. Nobody. So if the place that you call church is nothing more than a part of the entertainment industry, and you've been told in one way or another, directly or indirectly, that the church is for the unchurched and the unbeliever, not for the believer and the saved, if you've been told all those things, you don't need to go. You've never been taught what the church truly is. That's how all those things relate together, yeah.
I was just going to say, I don't know if many people would even want to go to the movies at 9 o'clock in the morning Sunday.
That's true, Max. But in their defense, I don't want to go to the movies at 9 p.m. either, so, or at 3 p.m.
Yeah,
or any other time.
But actually, for what you're saying though, Max, there's a lot of people that they do go actually to the movies at 9 o'clock in the morning to their churches.
Oh.
They actually do. Because it is.
It's a great point.
Yeah.
As a matter of fact, interestingly enough, come on, let me say it. There has been this huge, like an epidemic, like a plague in the last year of all these churches doing at the movies. The sermon series are called At the Movies. And every single week is a different movie theme. Look at the look on Ron's face. Brother, you got to get out more. You got to get... Look, if I had to choose between Joy knowing what I'm going to say before I say it, or Ron never hearing this before, I would take Joy. You don't know about this?
No.
Oh, this is everywhere right now.
Church of the Everglades is one. Church of the Everglades.
No, this has been going on for a long time. Dennis is correct, but just for whatever reason, it's caught fire again lately, and churches everywhere are doing their at the movies, and it's ridiculous. Actually, that's an insult to ridiculous things, to be honest with you.
Like the church is striving to be relevant. Like that's their idea.
Well, that's all it is. It's just entertainment. It's all it is. It's just entertainment.
So they show a movie, or they have a movie theme, or?
Movie theme. Like I saw a guy dressed as a Roman soldier doing Gladiator. What else did I see? Whole bunch of stuff.
And what do you preach on?
What? Grinch? Yeah. What?
And do they actually preach on anything?
Yes.
or-
Well, I'm just going to tell you something. If you use that word to describe what's going on that stage, it's not preaching.
Yeah.
Right.
They talk. They talk.
You sure it wasn't VBS for adults?
Well, that's, if you see, if you look at other places.
Hold on, I gotta put that on Twitter. Hold on. Sorry, it's not Twitter anymore. It's X. That was Sue's? Oh, I'm totally gonna give her credit for that then.
I think I saw a husband and wife couple as Buzz and Woody.
Yes.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. You did. You did see Buzz and Woody. That's right. I've known Sue Hall for 10 years, and I can't think of something she would dislike more than me giving her credit for that statement on social media.
That's to infinity and beyond. I use that statement in Sunday school.
What statement?
To infinity and beyond.
But you weren't dressed up.
I wasn't dressed up.
But you wouldn't be opposed to dressing up.
I never
Stand
dressed
up.
up.
Picture.
Wait, hold on. What was that?
BBS.
Oh,
Here.
yeah, right. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, look, like, there are cultural references that people understand that can illustrate a point. That's not the issue here. The issue is replacing the preaching of the word with entertainment. That's the problem. And all of this goes together. This is just one part. This worshiping alone and not having a value in church is just one part. I think it's a downhill consequence of losing all the things that we talked about today in Ephesians 2, and it's lost for a lot of different reasons, mainly because, can I just say this bluntly, goats don't want to listen to sound doctrine. But when your church is built upon the unbeliever and what they want to hear, they're not going to listen to sound preaching and sound doctrine. It's just not going to happen. And so then there's all those downhill consequences of it, just this being one of them. Now, I'm going to try to pull it up. Maybe we should talk about something else while I'm trying to pull it. Oh, let's do this. I'm going to try to pull up something else while we're talking here. Let's just talk about this idea of prophecy. Does everybody understand what I was getting at when I was talking about the loss of prophecy today, or why people would disagree on that one part when Paul says the apostles and prophets and how that becomes a thing? When you think about the charismatic movement and the continuation of prophecy today, how that then, verse 20, but then also verse 5 of chapter 3, get distorted and interpreted as something totally different depending on your definition of prophets and how that's understood. Go ahead, Dennis.
Well, I just wanted to ask about that. Built on the foundation of the apostles and prophets. I mean, could you have been talking about the fact that the prophets of the Old Testament? Because everything is pointing to Christ. So it's like the prophets were talking about Christ. They were prophesying the fulfillment of the law through Christ.
Yeah.
And then the apostles are writing about Christ's work fulfilling those prophecies. And
So wait, tell me your question. What's the question?
well, the question is, why isn't it that?
Why isn't it the Old Testament and the New Testament?
Why is it prophets? Why do the prophets have to be in the New Testament? Why can't
Yeah,
they refer
yeah,
to the prophets of
yeah.
the Old Testament?
Okay, good, very good question. And again, this is always disconcerting to me because I tried to explain this in my sermon and obviously I failed. Which happened? You were listening? Yeah, yeah. Which means I did a terrible job. That's fine. That doesn't bother. It's fine. You know, like these are the things I think about all afternoon. Thank you. I'm going to go to this and see if this will go through. I'm trying to. So here's the thing, Dennis. Historically, Bible scholars have understood that statement, apostles and prophets, to mean the whole of the scriptures, historically, okay? I think we can be perfectly fine saying Paul probably intends the whole of the scriptures to be the foundation of the church, okay? But we make that interpretation based not just on that statement, but the whole of what Paul says. 2 Timothy 3:15 and 16. All scriptures breathed out, right, by God, profitable for teaching, correction, training in righteousness, so the man of God may be complete, prepared for every good work. When Paul says, and then he says the very next verse, I charge you in the presence and company of many angels, preach the word in season, out of season, right? We understand that Paul's saying is the word of God is to be the thing taught in the church. 66 books, Genesis to Revelation, Moses, prophets, apostles, however you want to break all that up, okay? Hold on, Max. I'll get to you. I just don't want to lose my thought here, okay? However, because of the way he uses that phrase, apostles and prophets, in verse 20, okay? It's the exact same way he uses that phrase in verse 5 of chapter 3.
Never mind.
I sort of want to call on you now, Max, just to see what's going on over there. But so the reason why that is, Dennis, I'm doing my very best, both earlier but right now, not to preach next week's sermon. But in that text, he's talking about the mystery revealed to the apostles through Christ that was not revealed in previous generations. Meaning, can I just say it in the most, I'm sure I'm going to get raked over this. To some degree, the fullness of the gospel and of Christ was not revealed to the prophets of old. It's a mystery not revealed until this generation. Okay? So, because of that, because that's what he's saying there in verse 5, you take that phrase, which is so close to what he says in verse 20, both by proximity but also in structure, and say in verse 20, what he's probably saying here is not necessarily, in this case, the Old Testament, but the New Testament church, people brought in, built into the spiritual temple, right? Holy temple, is built upon the words of the New Testament, the new covenant that God has built. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. That's the only reason why I would say he might be, in this particular case, this particular place, excluding the Old Testament. Now, having said that, I don't think Paul excludes the Old Testament.
Right, I mean, I think that both are true. Like, yes, it wasn't fully revealed to the prophets, but you can look back to the prophets and say, wow, it's right there.
Yes.
At the time, it wasn't fully understood or known.
Yeah, and even the writer of Hebrews gives this indication that they spoke of things they didn't understand. They could see it from afar. You know, that imagery is wonderful. They could see this from afar. But they didn't really get it. And that's how we understand, this is the end of Hebrews 11. It says they did not receive what was promised to them because it was made complete with us. And the whole point there is that for them to fully understand what it is they were writing about, it had to be made complete in Christ and in the church. So I don't think Paul intends to exclude the Old Testament as he speaks of these things, Dennis. All I think he's intending to say there is that this New Testament church is built upon the apostles and the prophets, meaning the ones that God spoke through. Like, take the brothers of Jesus. They write 2 New Testament books, but neither one of them apostles. But you would rightly classify them in a scriptural sense as prophets through whom God spoke to bring his word. Right? So I think that's all I think it's getting at there.
The same use as in 4:11?
4:11.
Yeah.
Same idea. Yeah.
And those are gifted men as gifts to the church.
Gifts to the church. Yeah. Right. And it's those same men, I brought it up, and Peter writes about too. Those men carried along by the Spirit speaking from God. Same idea. God gives these gifts to the church for the purpose of building up the church. And it's so that's why the church is built upon the words that they spoke. You gonna say something else?
Yes, I was just going to say, I believe that actually he is referring to the actual prophets from the Old Testament here, because of in 3:4, or is it 3:5? Excuse me. He had to modify the holy apostles and prophets.
Yeah. That's why I say I think historically people have just interpreted this to understand prophets of old, prophets of the New Testament.
Exactly. Prophets of old and the apostles.
The only argument that can be is the way he uses that phrase in 20 and 3:5 might suggest it's just New Testament. I don't think it's worth arguing over.
No,
Yeah.
I'm just saying, I believe just because of the modifier,
Mhm.
he wouldn't call prophets, I guess.
Mhm.
Yeah, that is a silly argument, but
It's worth talking about, but not really, doesn't really go anywhere. Yeah.
I was just gonna say, 3:5, I'm just reading this, noticing this for the first time, is, was not made known to the sons of men in prior other generations, as it has now been revealed to his holy prophets, or
Yeah.
holy apostles,
Yeah.
and prophets. So
Yeah.
it seems to me that does indicate New Testament prophets.
There it does.
Now revealed.
Yeah. The question is, does Paul build the foundation of the church? Does he believe the foundation of the church is only on what the New Testament writers have written? That would seem like a hard case to make.
Right.
That's all.
I mean, I think of the disciples on the road to Emmaus,
Yeah.
where Jesus opened up the Old
Testament, correct.
and showed
Correct.
them how
Yeah.
everything in that related to him.
Yeah. This is one of those great topics that if you want to argue that it's just the New Testament authors, I'll argue with you about it. And if you want to argue that it's the Old Testament and the New Testament, I'll argue with you about that too. Right? It's like, just happy to disagree with whoever wants to agree with whatever. Right? Okay, fine. All right, Kurt, can you put that up now? Is that possible? Or am I
What's on your screen right now?
a map?
Interesting.
You mean reconnect?
No, it's you. I think it's Apple TV.
Oh, no, I'm not connected anymore.
Oh,
Let me try to connect again.
then it's you.
No, I did connect.
There you go. Get closer.
Okay.
There we are.
I swear. Okay, you can't quite see the caption here, but I'm going to read it to you. These are the counties in the bottom 10% of evangelical share. Meaning, this is just so you know, this is very, very interesting, but hard to extrapolate. Oh, there it is. Very hard to extrapolate research. Okay, it is the U.S. Religion Survey of 2020. You can look it up. Okay, there's a lot of information in there. Some of it not entirely helpful. I'll be honest with you. However, in there you can find this map. It's a little hard to find. In there is this map that shows the bottom 10% of counties in the United States of evangelicals. Meaning, take all the population of the county, which counties has the least percentage of evangelical believers? Okay? Now, Utah surprises us this much. And if you don't know, does anybody need me to explain that to you? It's all Mormon. Okay? The Northeast, the New England area, that surprises us none. Does anybody need to explain that one?
Liberals and Jews.
Because of who?
I said their face. I was joking.
Well, no, that's true too, but that's not why. If you don't know anything about New England, one of the biggest reasons why New England is so unchristian, I'll use that term, unchristian, is largely because of Charles Finney. Finneyism went wild through that part of the country. Millions of people were convinced of a false Christianity. And by the second or third generation of those families, nobody in those families are believers. Why? Because they had heard a false gospel, they had been given false assurance of faith, and then their children were like, well, that's bogus. And you're talking about like my parents' and grandparents' generations were like, this is, I'm not doing this. People my age up there, they couldn't care less about Christianity. And so that's one of the hardest places to go and evangelize, and one of the hardest places to go and plant churches. And actually, just a side note, we partner now with Practical Shepherding, and part of Practical Shepherding is this ministry that they have called Church in Hard Places, which Scott and I heard quite a bit about earlier this year. And believe it or not, one of the hard places that they work in is New England. Very, very difficult to do church there. Okay. However, the reason why I wanted to show you this to me was fascinating. Let me see if this works. There is a huge, huge section of Illinois that's included in this. And as a matter of fact, we are surrounded by 2 counties. McHenry County and, it's not Will County. No, believe it or not, Cook County is not on here. It's not the bottom. It's not Kane. Kane is next to us.
DuPage?
Kendall. Who said Kendall? You got it right. It's Kendall County. Who said that? Did you? Yeah, that's what it is. It's Kendall County. McHenry County and Kendall County are the 2 closest to us that are purple on this. Which means, and actually Kendall County is the 2nd worst in the whole state for percentage of people in the county being evangelical believers. Now, I would suspect, although I don't have any way to extrapolate this data, but I would just give you my suspicion based on, if you go to the actual Illinois map, you can see this by shaded color percentage, right? You can see them by shades. If you look, Cook County, Kane County, Lake County, they are all very, very close to being in the bottom 10% in the whole country. DuPage County, believe it or not, is not quite as bad as those. But the reason why I bring this up is because as we think about some of these issues of American evangelicalism and things that we deal with, when I tell you we are surrounded by an area that is growing rapidly towards atheism, Islam, and other religions, look, you just have no idea how fast this car is careening off the cliff in this particular area. This area, I'm convinced this area of northern Illinois will look just like New England in 10 years' time. And in large part, like, you go to Dallas and it's like mega church capital of the world. I don't think Chicago's all that different. There's some huge churches here that everybody wants to be like, including Willow Creek, and all the Willow Creek wannabes that everybody's been part of. Is that why you raised your hand?
Well, my question is, what they consider evangelical churches might be like these mega churches, right? Which isn't really a strong church at all, and it won't take just a breeze to blow them into the purple.
Yeah. So let me just say a couple things about this. One, I don't know what their evaluative tools is to get this data exactly. I will say there in this particular survey, no, I don't know. It's the 2020 U.S. religion census. I don't know what their data points are, but you can see all the data by denomination, which is really interesting to look at. What they consider evangelical Protestant, I'm not entirely sure because there's a whole lot of data in there. But what I will say is this is going by heads, not by churches. Churches is another data set, meaning number of churches. Now, it may be, Dennis, that people in those mega churches count in some of this. I'm not sure. But maybe not. I'm not positive exactly how they get that data. But it is interesting to look at just in this sense.
You don't happen to have a comparison of what it was like 10 years prior?
They have it on that website. Would you like to see that next Sunday?
I'd like to see that.
Yeah.
What's the website called?
I can't tell you. Didn't see that coming, did you? The website, the website is something I can't remember. It's it's an acronym for something. But what I did is a friend sent me this, and then if you go to 2020 U.S. religion census, you can see a lot of the data. I'm going to put a note in so we have it for next Sunday. Questions, thoughts about that? It's interesting, isn't it?
Was it PRRI.org?
No, that's not it. It's like ASDT or something, I don't know. Enough of that? The other one that I brought up, just so in case you want to look these up, so there's that one. If somebody finds the actual, did you find it? I'll, if you guys want this, I can send this out. This is Ligonier State of Theology 2025 is what this one is. Oh, let me see. Can I go back to this? Let's see what happens here. This ought to be wild, huh? What?
To see the comparison in the percentages too would be.
This will be interesting. I think you're asking for the same thing I am. Okay, so worshiping alone with one's family is a valid, or with one's family is a valid replacement for regularly attending church. So Americans in the South are most likely to disagree, which is interesting because if you look at the heat map, I only showed you the map that has the gray and the purple, but if you look at the heat map, the counties that have the largest percentage of evangelical Christians, whoever would fit that, by and large, it starts in about North Carolina and it makes this swoop across the South into Texas. That's the Bible Belt. That's what everybody's always called it, right? So when this says Americans in the South are most likely to disagree with it, it makes total sense. That's the Bible Belt. That's where everybody goes to church, or at least a huge percentage of people. Here, do you guys see the second one? Americans aged 50 to 64 are more likely to disagree than those 18 to 34 and 65 and over. So this is where this demographic stuff gets really interesting. Let's just start with the oldest and work down. People 65 and over, only 25% of people disagree with this statement, meaning 75% to some degree would agree you can stay home. It doesn't matter if you go to church or not.
That's also a function of, I don't have a driver's license, I can't get there. You know what I mean? You can work hard and say someone needs to come get me and take me to church.
Yeah.
But there might be a lot of people that are like, oh, I've been going to church for 50 years and I can't get out. It's snowing out. I'm not going out.
Yeah, okay, good point. I mean, it'd be interesting to ask somebody that has that response. So does that mean you think it's a valid replacement to stay home, or do you feel like I want to be there but I can't? Because those are different answers, right?
So we had this discussion with Van's mom this weekend, and I think it's, if she had the choice and the ability, she'd go, but she doesn't. So she doesn't.
Mm-hmm. It would be interesting to see those people in that 65 plus that disagree or that don't agree, that would agree with the statement. Why they would say that, right? I thought the part about this one that was most interesting is that the 18 to 34s, 8 out of 10 of them, 4 out of 5 of them are going to say you can stay home. Doesn't matter if you go to church or not. When I read this this morning, the thing that reminded me of is about 15, maybe a little bit more years ago, they did this study of kids that were part of evangelical churches and part of the youth group. So you had to meet certain criteria to fit into this study. You had to be part of an evangelical Protestant church, and you had to have been part of the youth group regularly to some value. They interviewed these kids over the course of 3 or 4 years, and what they found is of these kids that came out of these evangelical youth groups, by the time they were sophomores in college, 1 out of 10 was still attending church. 10% still going to church regularly while they're in college. And by and large, most of them said, well, it's not for me. And the indication was they had been taught and been coddled all along that that's the adult church. This is where you go to church in the youth group. And when they got to college, they're like, well, now I got to go to the adult church, which I think is boring. And so they just didn't go. 1 out of 10. That was the research that hit me when I was reading it this morning. Yes, ma'am.
Do you think also too the percentages or whatever, do you think COVID with the virtual church affected those results?
Okay, this is 100% my opinion, okay? I think COVID didn't change any of this. I think COVID only revealed what was already there. personally. The reason why I say that is because prior to COVID, my experience and the experience of almost all of my pastor friends was you would have regular drop-ins. People that just kind of showed up here and there, you know, visiting from blah, blah, this kind of stuff. And everybody has described how that group, as sort of this sort of itinerant group that you would see occasionally, that's almost gone. You either have people that are there regularly or not. And so that middle part of people that might have gone 2 times a month maybe to various places is almost gone.
It's a refiner's fire.
That's the way I've described it. It has revealed what was already there by refining those that didn't care to go really, but they're like, I kind of need to go to church, whatever. Now people are just like, I don't care. I'm not going to go. Okay. It's interesting, isn't it? That, again, that's my opinion. It very well may be that COVID did change some minds. Did change some people to say, oh, maybe we don't have to go to church anymore. Maybe that's true. I actually think that, I think there's inflection points along the way. The rise of online church, long before COVID, I think had some effect on that. But I think, you know, some of those other things that we're talking about have been much more influential in changing people's minds about church attendance or not than what even having a live stream or what COVID did. That's what I think. Okay. That's why I brought up the attractional church model. I think you could see a lot of that there. Yeah.
But if COVID did one thing for those who love the church, it just made them really understand how much they love the church, because you're not meeting together as you should be, and it hurt.
Yeah. That's totally
Did they just miss a whole demographic of 35 to 49-year-old people?
I'm assuming they were just trying to make comparisons of groups, like for numbers purposes.
Does that mean it ranked too high or too low, you wonder?
I wonder.
Because maybe the people that fell away from the church after college, by the time they got to 35 and had a couple kids, said they would be at church for a while.
And the research has shown that several of those kids that were part of the church and the youth group growing up have come back. The last I saw, they kind of did a follow-up survey and showed that maybe 2 or 3 of those kids out of that 10 that we were talking about, only 1 in 10 was attending during college. Maybe 2 or 3 returned with their families or after college, something like that. Yeah. If you go to, I don't think Ligonier has this research on there. You know, you can go to their website and find it, but then you can go to Lifeway Research and see it. And I think it's on the Lifeway site where you can dig through the data a little more. You know, you can put some parameters and things like that, and you can see which demographics said what and stuff like that. They just did this, I think, as a summary, as a, you know, something to print like this and to be able to give out. So,
Well, what is a main line?
good question. So your main lines are your United Methodists.
But different than evangelical?
Yes.
You're Lutheran.
Yeah, exactly. Your mainline old denominations that wouldn't necessarily be defined as evangelical necessarily. PCUSA, some of those. By and large, I hate to say it this way, but if you classify a denomination into mainline, it usually means it's dying.
And ultra-liberal.
Ultra-liberal and mostly dying a very, very, I don't say deliberate, but it's not slow and it's not fast, but it is progressively going down daily, the amount of people in these mainline churches. I mean, just like example here in our community, right behind the Walgreens over here is the United Methodist Church. And that for years was the West Chicago United Methodist Church. And about a year ago or so, they combined with the Winfield United Methodist Church because neither one of them had enough money to pay for their buildings. So they combined together into one congregation that I heard is almost ready to close now too. So those mainline denominations are very rapidly declining. I can't remember how many they fit into that. The Episcopal, stuff like that. Like Max said, most of them are classified pretty liberally. That's why they're not considered evangelical.
So do you think the people that religiously watch good, solid church stuff online are doing that because they can't get there or they don't think they need to get there? And if you thought if you believed that the people that were watching My Good Church don't think they need to be here, why am I bother even offering it to them?
Remember last week when I said Scott gives me questions that he already knows the answers to?
No, I don't know the answer to it. But I mean, if you got a really strong church that preaches the gospel, and you find out that a lot of people that are watching your live stream, if you can even find that stuff out, are people that agree with you but just don't think the church is worth bother going to, just say, we're done live streaming.
Yeah.
If you want to hear the word, find a church.
Yeah. It's a good question. Let me try to give you my most diplomatic answer. Are you ready? You're going to pick this one apart, I'm sure. First and foremost, that's a question I struggle with personally. Is it necessary to do it? Should we do it? Two, good people disagree on whether that's a good thing or not. Having a live stream or even an archive of your services or your sermons, is that good or not? Third, I think the best way to answer that in the affirmative, yes, we should do it, is to say, with all the bad teaching all the way to false teaching, if that's a spectrum, from bad teaching, which is sort of just incomplete and not great, all the way to what's just flat out false. With all of that that's out there, if we as a small church or any small church or any church that actually preaches the Bible has the opportunity to put into that space of online, digital, streaming, whatever, all the realms you can put that into. If we have the ability to put truth and put the Bible into that space and have people listen to it, I think it's a good thing. Kurt and I have had this discussion about social media for years, and we may say it's dangerous, it's harmful, it's, all the bad things about it, which is true. But if we say, well, we're just not going to enter ourselves and enter truth into it, and everybody else agreed with us, there'd be no truth there. And so we have to go into those places to some degree in some way. Having said that, I like to think that and this might be totally shirking responsibility, Scott. That's why I think this is the one you're going to rip me apart on. We don't have the responsibility for the hearts and minds of those who find our live stream and listen to it. We're simply just putting the truth out there for them to hear it. Mm-hmm. Meaning, if they listen to it, and they listen to it every week, and they still don't go to church, I can't necessarily... I don't have any control over that, and I don't have any responsibility to shepherd those people that do that. Hold on, Max. I understand then the response. I do understand the response when people say, well, you're just making it easy for people to stay home then. Okay, that's fair. But that also means that those in our congregation who are sick, those who are in our congregation who are traveling, those who are in our congregation who might have some valid reason to not be here, don't have the opportunity to participate when we can offer it to them. And look, there's a whole lot of solutions to that. Like, okay, we'll make it private, and somebody's going to be missing. They have to get the code from us or something. Okay, we could do that. I don't know. I'm not sure I have a answer that my conscience could say, this is what I know we got to do. There's just all of those factors combined together, and I feel like let's just keep putting the truth out there as much as we can. I'll just add one more thing to this. Good, bad, or otherwise, you can form your own opinion. By and large, 20 years ago, if you wanted somebody to visit your church, you had to have a good website. Your website was the landing page for people to find you and say, I'll visit there. No, I won't. Now where is it, Dennis?
Well, that was for me.
But it's mostly YouTube now.
Well, yes, YouTube, but I mean, even though the website is really stinky.
Yeah.
When I found the church,
Yeah.
it still helped me find the church.
Yeah.
And reading your doctrines of faith
Yeah.
helped me know, okay, I want to go here. I want to hear what's preached.
Yeah.
And then I came and
Yeah.
here I am.
Most surveys, and are you want to say something, Paz? Did you have your hand up? Okay. Most surveys will show that people will listen to 2 to 3 sermons and maybe even watch a full service before they visit now. Because people digitally will connect before they connect in person. It's sort of the nature of the information world that we live in, right? Again, if somebody was really strongly convicted about us not doing a live stream and wanted to talk about it, I'd certainly be open to talking about it for whatever reason. I don't have a hard and fast answer about right and wrong there. Can I just say one other thing? This is not, well, maybe this is an okay answer. People we respect, that I respect, that we listen to, they all have a live stream, right?
I know.
And I'm not saying that.
I'm not arguing the point one way or the other.
Yeah,
Asking.
I know, but they could all be wrong. Right? And then that may, so are we. On the other hand, like, we all get together, in the multitude of counselors, much wisdom. Like, okay, we're all kind of thinking this is okay to do, so it's okay to do. Maybe, again, we could all be stupid and ignorant too. I don't know, Tom.
Why can't we occasionally encourage people through that same avenue to say to them, hey, we would encourage a biblical response to going to church and the fellowship that's needed, and encourage you, if you're out there listening and have the ability to come to church, we'd encourage you to do that.
You know what, Paz, can we just put a header on the thing? Stop watching this and go to church. Put that on there? Yeah.
Watching is good, but church is better.
We're glad you're watching, but go to church.
I mean, it's part of the teaching. If you want good teaching, that's part of it. Maybe they're ignorant to that. But, like you made the case for all the people, like someday Roger might not have a ride here and he might want to, or Ann's mom, or whoever it is. There's going to be those people that can't make it, and it'd be great for them. Mm-hmm. But part of it is maybe education. And if this is the avenue that we have to reach those people and they're listening to us, then educate them that this is what God's word said, you need to fellowship together.
Yeah.
And we're going to encourage you to do that.
Yeah, that's a great point. Some dear friends of ours who left this church to move away, I had that exact conversation with them. While they were church shopping, they watched our live stream pretty much every week. And I said to them at one point, watch, great, but you need to be part of a local church. And eventually that's happened. So, yeah, pause.
Just one question that I have about all those numbers.
Yeah.
How many of those people who was answering those questions have a really good understanding of what the church is?
Yeah.
It is important because somebody who understands the purpose of being together, they're not gonna agree with that.
Right.
So
I know.
That's going to be interesting to know.
Yeah, and in this study that I'm showing these numbers from, it was like 3,000 or 4,000 people, and there was no distinction of who they talked to, whether they were a believer or not, what they understand or not. Now, I can take another study and give maybe an answer to your question. Okay. Every 2 or 3 years, Barna does that research. It's called the Christian Worldview or Biblical Worldview Study. And every time they do that study for the past 20 years, the same percentage of people pretty much have a biblical worldview. It's about 5 to 6%. So if 3,000 people are interviewed for this one, my guess is about 5 to 6% of them actually have a biblical worldview, which means 95% of them don't.
And it shows in that.
If you didn't hear what he said, and it shows. That's totally right. Totally right. Yeah. Anything else?
There are a couple lines.
I took yours? Oh.
Tom did actually, but like the channel I watch, you know, they always say, we want to make this this blesses you, that's great, but this is not a replacement for, you know, belonging to an actual church. And so I like your flashing sign.
Yeah, yeah.
But,
Yeah. I was actually joking about that, but we might do something.
You can sell ads that interrupt your sermon. And to subscribe, they have to come to church.
What did we talk about before church, Tom?
That's great.
We got some free pop to put in my fridge, and Tom pointed out that we don't drink that type here. We only have Coke products because of, right? And then I said, well, if that's going to be true, we need to get some ad revenue from this. This sermon brought to you by Diet Coke. Yeah, that's right.
Just one comment aside of everything.
Yeah.
The reason why I started the live streaming is because I know, and I heard for someone who got saved by listening through live streaming of the service.
Yeah.
And my thinking is, if one got saved for what we are doing, it's worth.
Yeah, that's right.
It's
That's
worth.
I was gonna say the same thing.
So, if for any reasons we decide or someone don't want to do it,
Yeah.
I will do it with my iPhone.
Right, right.
And that's the reason why most of the equipment that we have for this live streaming, it didn't cost to the church. Most of what we had for live streaming.
That's right. That's right.
Because I didn't want to make it.
Yeah, but Paz has given time and money and a whole lot of energy and Sundays to making sure that all of that is done and done well. And I mean, you guys have watched it. A lot of you have. For a small church, we have an incredible little live stream. Incredible. And yeah, thank you, Paz. And I'll just say, Paz and I had this conversation 10 years ago about live streaming when you came to the church. And I said, yes, I want to do it for that reason. And look, I believe the church is for believers, but I also know that unbelievers come in, and I also know that unbelievers are mixed in. And so that is why I am insistent on you hear the gospel every single Sunday as part of the message. And because of that, that then is put out into YouTube, and anybody who stumbles across our live stream, if they listen to that sermon, they're going to hear the gospel. And we believe that it will do its work according to God's will in those hearts. And so that's been our biggest motivation and justification for doing it all these years. So, yes.
Was that website the Arta?
Yeah.
But I was unable to find yours saying that, but I think that's the site. What was it called?
Okay, see, look, you and Dennis. Okay, I'm going to be texting you and Dennis this afternoon because neither one of you are listening to me now. What did I say? It's hard to find. Didn't I say that?
I heard that part. I heard that.
Did I say? Look at the kids. They're like. What?
I confirmed that.
Yeah, but. All right. Anything else? Thanks everybody for being here. Snowy weekend, holiday weekend. Don't forget about next Sunday. Not only do we have service in the morning, but we have our hymn sing Sunday night. Invite somebody, bring a friend, bring an unchurched person to the hymn sing.
Unchurched Charlie.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Tom, you want to close today? Do you mind?
Father, thank you for the message we heard this morning, and to remind us of what's happening in your church, and that we need to be aware of that and work towards building your church. Pray that more pastors would recognize this fault and change and preach the truth of your word. And so help us as your people to be obedient to you. We recognize in your word that as time goes on, things will probably not be better. And so help us to be strong in the midst of that, and bless this church. And we just thank you and praise your name. Amen.
Thanks, Tom. Thanks, everybody. Have a great